Welcome to the Browns Wire podcast. A little bit of a late start, technical issues on my part. We got cows out in my backyard, but we're here. We're doing it. We're talking Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah with one of my old college teammates, a dude I haven't talked to in like 4 years, 3 years?
It's been a while, man. Yeah.
Oh, dude, but the guy, Nathan, you know your stuff, dude. I remember you were the shit, dude. Donovan, I know you can't see him, but he's got a great body.
I can see him.
Tall, strong lad, big pecs, dude. He's got the stacked individual, Donovan. Okay, look at that smile. It just brights up, dude. It's gonna do wonders for our lives.
Really hard. Yeah. I love it.
Former Valparaiso defensive lineman, now writing for Sports Illustrated about the Fighting Irish. No one is going to be able to give us a better breakdown on Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah than you. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Happy to be here. Obviously, love to see the Valpo connection here. My former running back teammate here. You know what I mean? So I'm really excited to be here, and I love talking about Notre Dame. So Owusu-Koramoah, my kind of claim to fame right now is being. He's supposed to be a first-round guy, and when he started dropping, all this random stuff started coming out on Twitter about he's not that good, it's whatever. And I was like, it's got to be a medical thing. You know what I mean? So to see down the line that it was a medical thing and they were able to clear it up made me feel a little better because people saying that he didn't look like a first-round guy made me kind of question what I thought I was seeing, and he's definitely a first-round guy.
Right, I saw you tooting your own horn and being a little braggadocious on Facebook.
Have to.
Congratulations, yeah. We also got, as always, my co-host Donovan James. Donovan, how you doing, buddy? The mustache is coming in real well, dude.
Dude, I shaved all my hair, bro.
Oh, dude, are you kidding me?
Look at that.
Why'd you do that? You had gray hair.
I'm going to Vegas on Sunday, and I just want to be clean for the weekend, dude. I'm going to Vegas on Sunday. I fly out there with my girlfriend. We're going to Vegas in California. So I wanted just to
start from.
I had way too much time on my hand this weekend. Basically, I was playing Xbox all weekend, and I just wanted to start from scratch. I don't know. I was like, I'm gonna look like a.
I love that.
I'm bald now, and just to have a mustache. So I just like to switch it. You know, Josh, I just switch it up sometimes.
No, I'm blown away. That's your response, Donovan. Why'd you shave your head? Well, I'm going to Vegas. I wanted to be clean. That's
I'm getting my second COVID shot on Wednesday, and just clean slate, man. New dog.
You're staying at shit. You're staying on Fremont, right?
Yeah,
you're not staying on the Super Hill.
No, I'm staying at the D on Fremont. That's my spot, man. That's my spot. Shout out to I love that part of Vegas.
Fremont is wild.
Old
dude.
Vegas.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
my girl's never been to Vegas at all, so it's gonna be a shit show for her.
No shit, dude.
Everything is back up through there. So the concerts, we're going to Zed's playing next weekend.
Oh, wow.
So if you guys listen to that stuff,
yeah, you're gonna have a blast out there.
Yeah, I'm excited, man.
Vegas is always dope, dude.
Love
Vegas
it,
is always a blast. Well, I'm glad you're back with us again. We got some technical difficulties, but we're rocking and rolling. Let's go ahead. Let's dive in. Let's talk some Cleveland Browns football, some Notre Dame football. Nate, I don't know how in tune you are with Cleveland Browns Twitter, or if you've been paying attention to what they're saying. But obviously, the big debate. Let's get it out there. Let's get out in the open. The big debate is he a linebacker or is he a safety?
Yeah, good question. Is that you just handing it off to me there?
Yeah, dude. You want to hear? You want to hear my Donovan and I's take first?
Yeah, you guys tell me what you think, and then I'll tell you how I view him.
Okay. So first of all, for the record, I don't think it really goddamn matters. I think that you have your interior. I think you have the trenches. You have your second level defenders, and then you have your third level defenders. You know, the third level defenders, their responsibility is coverage. Your safeties don't make sure that nothing is behind them. Your linebackers are your second level. You know, they should be sideline to sideline. They should be okay in coverage. They should be very good pass rushers, blitzers, yada, yada, yada. However term you want to give him, I don't think it matters. He's going to be on the second level. He's not going to be a deep safety. He's not, he's not going to be a quarter safety. I don't see him playing that role. I view him as more of a linebacker. To me, that checks more boxes as a linebacker. He checks a lot of the same boxes as recently deceased Geno Hayes. When Geno Hayes was coming out of Florida State, obviously Cormore is way more athletic. I think he's a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger than Geno Hayes was. Geno Hayes still was in the NFL for 7, 8, 9 years. Had a very okay career. I think he can be JOK can be much better than that, but he fits a lot of those. Yeah, absolutely, but they fits a lot of those same traits, I guess. So I would view him more as a linebacker than a safety, but I don't think it really matters. I think that people in the analytics community are just they just want something to bitch about. If that makes sense. Yeah. But Donovan, you got an opinion on this before we hand it back to him?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of agree with you on the same thing as on the outlook of it. He's a linebacker, I guess, by like definition, but I don't believe in like the terms. It's kind of positionless football at this point now. Like it's kind of look at it like basketball.
Position fluid.
Yeah, I mean, if you follow basketball, it's just kind of like there's just 5 spots on the floor. At the end, or if the death lineup that Golden State had, like it's like when the third downs coming in or fourth quarter, you just want that guy on the field because he makes plays. Exactly. He can play off the edge if you want him to, and get to the pass rusher. I've seen him do everything. So I mean, he can cover your tight ends, which the tight end position has just totally changed over the past 15, 20 years. Obviously, 2 tight end sets and everything. So. I mean, he's just a good football player that plays defense, pretty much. But but pretty much a linebacker. I mean, by definition, I would say. But if you play him anywhere, and then analytically, I mean, I do. I'm a pretty big analytical guy, but I mean, that's still a good player.
It's a tool.
He's a 3-down guy, though. So I mean, you want to draft a guy that high that can play all 3 downs and. Even play on special teams if needed or something like that. So, I mean, he's better than a special team player. I'm just saying, that's a guy that can play every down for you. So that's not somebody – it's a value guy. I'm all about value, man.
But you're not an analytics nut, though. It's a tool that's in your belt, and it's a piece of the puzzle. But, you watch a lot of football, and I feel like most of your takes are football related rather than analytical.
I try to be. My major was sports marketing analytics, so I try not to tell people that because they're gonna assume I'm analytic. I know. See, that's the reaction I get. What's your major? Sports analytics. Oh God, but no. Josh knows me well. You'd have to know, if you talk to me enough, I do rely on analytics and value a lot and numbers. But I mean, at the end of the day, I watch the games. You know what I mean? And this is a guy that I watch a lot, especially because I'm a USC fan. So I mean, he's definitely he's sort of thorn in our side a little bit. Happy we didn't have to play him this year. So
absolutely,
yeah.
But Nate, what do you think, man?
Yeah, so I think between Josh and I both, and Donovan, I don't know if you played at all. I think if you've ever played football at the college level, no matter what it is, you probably just don't like analytics, right? Because it's too much.
See, I didn't play. That's why I'm an analytic guy.
Yeah, see, and I don't think it matters if you play D1 or D3. Like if you've ever strapped it up and played out there, analytics, you don't really want to hear it. But I'll say this about Jock. I think in the most basic sense, I think he played the weak side linebacker in 4-3. I think when he came to Notre Dame, he came there to play safety, and they've kind of moved him down into the box. I think he's a bit undersized, right, if you look at him from a linebacker perspective. But one of the things that gives me kind of hope for him is I saw some stat that wide receivers in the last 10 years have gotten smaller in terms of draft size, in terms of height and weight. So I think as the game gets smaller and it's about playing in space, he fits that really well. One of the guys I comped him to is Patrick Chung, which people weren't doing that, but I think he can play that. Patrick Chung played in the box. He played linebacker. He was a DB by nature, so he could also play safety, cover the slot. So I've seen Jock do all those things at Notre Dame, and I think he can do that. I think he can line up in the box on the weak side as a safety. I think he can cover in the slot. I think he can cover a number 2 man-to-man. I think if you need him off the edge, like you said, he can do that. I think he can do it all. It's like the Swiss Army knife of players. Yeah. But I think, if you try to box him into something and say, okay, this guy's going to be a 4-3 linebacker and we're going to need him to stack blockers and get to the run, that's not really what he's good at. So
no,
I think he, like I said, I think Patrick Chung is probably the best fit for him.
Okay. So you do lean if you had to pigeonhole, and I think we're all on the same page. No one really, we kind of just throw away the positions, right? We don't really care. But if you had to pigeonhole him, you would say probably more safety than linebacker due to his inability in traffic and lack of size.
Absolutely, yeah. I think when he's making plays in the run game, he's making them from the backside, or he's slipping through and getting on guys. Like, again, he's not your guy that's gonna. And not saying he can't do this and he lacks the heart to do it. I see him do it. But, like, if you're looking for a guy where his power run to his side and he's going to stack up with a tackle or a guard and shed and make the tackle, look, if he does it, great, but I don't think that's where his consistency lies. I think he's making plays kind of knifing in on his own read type of thing.
Is there any tape of him doing that? Because I tried to watch as much as possible on him because this is a guy I really liked. I don't see him shedding blocks at all. I've seen him work in traffic, but he, like you said, it slices through. A guy that we talked about recently on the podcast being very good at that was Darren Lee was good at that. Darren Lee, it's really hard to find any tape of him where he's actually shedding a block, but he's constantly making tackles behind the line of scrimmage because of his quickness, because of his speed, yada, yada, yada. But, I mean, do you see him ever line up, between the tackles and block shed or anything like that, or no?
Yeah, that's tough. I think I would have to probably grind a lot of tape to find it, right? Because I think and I think when you look at Clemson, I think that was his best game that he ever played at Notre Dame. And I think a lot of that was attributed to, again, kind of knifing through plays. I think Notre Dame did a really good job of not putting him in those spots because I think, again, ultimately, like if you're looking for a way to make him fail, put him in those spots where he's going to have to stack up and shed consistently, because I just don't think he has that skill set. I think he's best again at knifing through, and I think what really helps him is his speed. Right, he can get over the top a lot on guys, and he can kind of get in there and make the plays. So that's where I kind of rank him.
So, I'm sorry, Donovan. I feel like I'm taking over the show. You got anything you want to ask or?
No, you're good.
I don't tell.
No, you're good.
So to me, I feel like the physicality is the hardest part to overcome. I never played in the NFL, right? I mean,
sure.
but that's what you see a lot. You see these fast guys, what they struggle with, or cornerbacks or safeties or whoever, defenders. What they struggle with is the uptick in physicality. Hey, everybody's bigger and faster and stronger, right? Yeah. So that speed. Darren Lee is a great example. We just talked about Darren Lee. Darren Lee has not had the success in the NFL. Granted, a lot of that's due to the off-field issues, but because everybody's a little bit faster, and he never had that physicality. Do you see him? Do you see, because my standards are pretty high for JOK. I think that he can play now, and I think he can play at a high level. Is that too high? Is that too high of a standard based off of the style of play he has?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, I think he's tough enough to do that. I just don't think that's where he'll be the most successful, right? As we think about players being busts, I think asking him to do that day in and day out would make him trend more towards being a bust. I think what he's really good at is he's kind of that rally defender, right? Like, he's going to run sideline to sideline. He's really good at scraping over the top. He's really good at kind of putting pressure on the mesh point of like a zone read or a read option, things like that. So, yeah, I think he can play right away. And I think and I don't know too much about the Cleveland Browns defense, but when I think about him, I think about the position that he'll be the best to succeed in is one similar to Notre Dame, where the front four or front three, they're eating up most of the blockers, right, to kind of give him that ability to then make plays. If he's in a defense where, guys are getting to him at the second level, whether it's guards or tackles, and he's constantly having to fight off bodies, I think he's at a severe disadvantage because I think he's like 215, and I just can't see that consistently at a linebacker spot.
All right. Do you think, and you bring up a good point, we saw an effort for the Cleveland Browns to get bigger and take up more space on the defensive line. Andrew Billings is coming back. He's well over 300 pounds. They drafted Tommy Togiai from a defensive tackle from Ohio State, and I think it was the fourth or fifth round, which, as you know, that guy's he's built like a fire hydrant.
Super strong.
Yep, bench press 225 over 40 times. So he fits that role of, hey, I'm just going to sit. He's not the most effective pass rusher, but he doesn't let people get by him. So I think that you can see a little bit of a plan there to try to protect those linebackers. Obviously, Myles Garrett's going to be soaking up double teams. And Jadeveon Clowney is everybody gets mad at him because he's not a prolific pass rusher, but he's a very, very good run anchor. He sets the edge perfectly. And they drafted Tony Fields, another undersized linebacker from West Virginia, also later on in the draft too. So I think that maybe they're trying to make a more solid effort of covering up those linebackers. So that does make me feel better. You mentioned that you believe you got him right around 250 pounds. Do you think, based on his frame, you've obviously seen him in person and seen him more in depth than Donovan or I, especially with the combine being non-existent, is there any potential he can pack on more weight, or is this it? He is what he is?
I don't know if it's just like you misheard me, but 215, so 215. He's not 250.
That's what I'm sorry. Did I misspeak?
Yeah. No, yeah, he's not 250. Do I think he could put on more weight? Sure. I think right now when you look at him, he's definitely built his body while he was at Notre Dame. He's gotten very chiseled. I don't think you look at him and think there's a guy with a lot of like fat, right? So he could probably put a little bit more meat on the bones. I just wonder too when you think about with quick guys, right? It's like, well, how much more weight can this guy put on? He kind of had a weird high school career. He played running back. He played safety. He played wide receiver. He kind of played a lot, even when he was in high school, right? He played a lot of different positions. So when I just think of that natural body build, I'm not sure he's a guy that you could get up to 240, 250 and kind of have him play. I mean, this is without knowing him personally, right? But I would say probably 230 is probably where he'd max out at without starting to lose speed. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's also a pretty big talking point is that you see a lot of people talk about, hey, if you gain weight, you're going to lose speed. But I mean, that's not typically true unless you start going overboard with it.
Right.
Donovan, we talked about that a couple weeks ago because one of your high school sweethearts Donovan's very into recruiting, by the way. We didn't get the chance to talk about that before, but I can't remember who you were talking about a couple weeks ago, Donovan, but whoever it was gained like 10, 15 pounds, and then they didn't lose a step from when they enrolled.
Oh yeah,
and then when they got drafted, they gained like 15, 20 pounds.
I think I was talking about Asante Samuel Jr., which is crazy because a lot of people, he's still small, but like, yeah, he was like 160 when I saw him at the opening.
Wow.
And
that's right. And his 40 was faster.
It was faster. Yeah.
When it was at the open.
And he's a lot bigger, man. Than he was. I mean, he's 160. So I mean, like, I think he was like 160, like soaking wet too, because he looks smaller than that. But, I mean,
so it is possible. Yeah. It is possible. We've all been to the gym. There's ways to gain weight without sacrificing speed. My favorite example is obviously the freak David Boston. I don't know if you guys remember.
Oh yeah,
he went from like 210 to like 250.
Yeah.
And ran like a 4.2. He was all roided up. The guy's awesome. Met him in person. His biceps were just like Hulk Hogan style. But I think that the 230, when you talk about today's NFL, that doesn't even sound like it's undersized. I mean, you mentioned it already about the wide receivers getting smaller. We're seeing that with the linebackers too. You don't see big giant Ray Lewis, I'm going to pound you in the dirt. Those guys don't really exist anymore. They're much more Deion Buchanan, Tyrann Mathieu, Levante David isn't exactly a huge individual. He's more of a coverage linebacker. So I think that's also noteworthy. So what we talked about my expectations. I gave him a first-round grade. It sounds like you gave him a first-round grade as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought he was a first-round guy. And to your point, I kind of think back to when we played, kind of class of like 09, so to speak, before we were getting recruited. And how I look at it now, it's like guys that are playing linebacker back when we were coming in and had to be a certain size. Most of those guys now, it seems like, are playing on the front four. And guys that were playing safety are starting to play linebacker. Just when you look at the size of guys going into college, it's like you don't really see these like linebackers anymore that are 240, 250, and all they really do is plug the run, right? Like you're looking for guys that are a little skinnier, a little rangier. So that's why, again, I think he fits that. I think the NFL is in a period of transition, right? I think there's still teams that are looking to run the ball. But if you put him on the weak side, you kind of keep blockers off of him. Yeah, I think he's absolutely a first-round talent. And I think it was a steal that he went in the second round.
What are your expectations for him this season? We talked about my expectations, and perhaps they might be a little too high. I wouldn't be shocked. I've been waiting for the odds to come out for him as Defensive Rookie of the Year, to be quite honest with you. What are your expectations? Where do you see him?
I'll put that money to Vegas for you, by the way.
Yeah, we got to talk to Donovan. Yeah,
dude, I had him higher than Greg Newsome on my board. So
wow, okay,
I did.
So Rookie of the Year, yeah, for sure. I would too.
Defensive.
For defensive Rookie of the Year. Well,
it probably won't. I mean, we're all realistic.
Win.
It's probably it's probably going to be. It's obviously going to be a defense. But the defensive Rookie of the Year is obviously probably going to be a defensive end. I mean, hasn't it been like the last 3 years? It's like Chase Young and Bosa. I think.
Yeah. People like
Did Derwin not win? Rookie of the Year, defensive Rookie of the Year.
Did he?
I don't know.
I don't know.
He did. That was like 4 years ago, man. I thought Bosa won it over him.
Oh yeah, Bosa did win over.
Yeah, it's the sacks.
I think he finished second. Derwin.
People love the sacks.
People love.
I've heard that comp too. I don't really buy that. I don't think he's quite Derwin James level.
Derwin James?
Oh, Derwin James. No,
I've heard. Yeah. I've seen that though, and I was like, all right, well, I mean, I like him, but damn, you know what I mean?
I've seen Levante David. I think
a good one. I like that one.
That's better, than Derwin James. For sure.
I think early on, people were saying like, "Oh, this is like an Isaiah Simmons type of guy," but
seen that too.
He's not. Isaiah Simmons wasn't he like 250? Like he was pretty big.
He's like 6'4", so even if he's not 250 right now, he's got the frame to be
235. He was 238.
Yeah, that's I don't know if that's the best comparison.
And running like a 4.3.
Yeah,
so,
that dude is a monster, man.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get too many guys. I mean, throwing out Ohio State guy names, right? Since Josh is out that way. I mean, Vernon Golston, right? Like you don't see too many guys come through like that.
Who also had a great NFL career.
Yeah. Being a combine freak and being good in the NFL don't always go together.
You know what's funny? He was such a big star around here. People were because he had like, man, I can't remember. He destroyed Michigan. He had like 3 sacks against Michigan. So but when he got cut, he was a bust. Dude, I loaded up. I got his mini helmet autographed up there. I got like 5 of his Jets jerseys, dude. I'm talking. I loaded up on Vernon Golston garb, dude. For real. He was a freak. I don't really know what happened. In today's NFL, he might have stuck around because he didn't really have that anchor strength.
Yeah.
Now, back then, you kind of had to have that, but I don't. I'm biased.
Yeah, he might have been a little before his time, and I'm sure the Golston family is happy to know that somebody out there is still supporting him. I think was his cousin who's our age just won with the Tampa Bay Bucks. William,
yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole family's athletic. I think his uncle before that was Eric, who also played offensive line for Ohio State, and I think he won a couple Arena Football League championships with Kurt Warner, the Iowa Barnstorm. I think the whole family's full of athletes, but I don't know.
Yeah, I just take a little bit of that DNA. It would be great. Just kind of change my family situation here. I think right. Like I think when you talk about Clowney, Garrett, the guys that are there. Who's the Alabama linebacker that's there? Who I really
Mac
like?
Wilson.
Yeah, Mac Wilson.
You like Mac Wilson? Because most Cleveland fans hate Mac Wilson. We could talk about Mac Wilson. What positive do you have about Mac Wilson? Because most Cleveland fans, I have
not watched a lot of him play. I just kind of like the way that he carries himself on the internet.
He's very motivational. Yeah. That's the thing Cleveland fans bitch about. Like, oh man, he's so motivational. He works really hard on the internet. He's not. He is an athletic freak. I'm with you. I like Mac Wilson. But he misses a lot of tackles, dude. He's in the wrong place at the wrong time a lot. But that was his problem at Alabama too. If you remember, right? They told him. I think Nick Saban was like, "Dude, don't leave, bro. Don't leave."
Another year. Yeah. And so that gives me a good chance to segue, right? I think so, Jock. I think he's really, really, really good at his football instincts and making tackles. I think where you see him struggle is, and I don't know why, but sometimes it's like he wants to deliver that big hit. And he's got a big hit he delivered against Florida State that everybody likes, but he starts to fall into this trap sometimes of like kind of torpedoing or throwing his shoulder into guys and whatever. And at 215, you're not knocking a lot of guys down.
Especially in the NFL.
You're right. But I think a lot of times, right, he flies around the field. When he's able to get over top a runner, he's a sure tackler, right? Like if he's able to throw both arms and shoot and wrap up, he is almost one of the surest tacklers I've seen in a long time. It's just where he gets into trouble is when he starts trying to throw himself at guys. And
really,
he just doesn't have enough weight. I mean, look, he's got some big hits. He's got some explosive hits. But, like, if he starts getting caught up in that, like, I'm going to throw my shoulder into this guy and lay him out, like, I don't think he's going to be too successful.
And that's the difference between someone like me who has watched 2, 3, 4 of his games and someone who like you who's watched him his entire career. Because I saw that physicality. And Donovan, you remember when I gave out my first scouting report, I was like, the guy's a tackler. He hits like he's 230, even though he's 215. But that I can see if you're watching him week in and week out, it's kind of like I'm trying to think of a good example for someone that was familiar with Ohio State. You heard it a lot with Tuff Borland, although when he did his pro day, that everybody kind of fell off the Tuff Borland train. But or Pete Warner's a good example. You hear about Pete Warner being a great coverage linebacker. Oh, he's a great coverage linebacker. He's a great coverage linebacker. It's like, yeah. Yeah, he covers the guy from Rutgers and the slot receiver from Illinois really well. But when he got his ass beat by Pat Fryermuth, and he got his ass beat by some of those Minnesota running backs that are pretty fast. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that. If you turn on the right tapes, him smashing guys is pretty attractive. But if he's doing that consistently and he goes up against a guy, Nick Chubb size, I can see why that might be an issue.
Yeah, and to answer your point about what rookie expectations, look, I think he's got as good of a shot at Rookie of the Year as anybody else. But I think what's really hard about him is, and it sucks to say this, right? Like, he's a really good football player, but he's not like the guy. It's kind of like Clowney. He's not the guy that's going to jump off the screen, right? So like when you jump through his career, he doesn't have a lot of interceptions. He doesn't have a lot of like these splash plays. He's got a couple. I mean, he had the one fumble recovery against Clemson that he took, scoop and score, but like when I think about his coverage, I think he's a great cover guy. He doesn't just bail, right? Like, those guys that bail right away and keep everything in front of him. He's not that kind of guy. He stays on, but he's going to be more of a pass breakup, or like it's going to be a really tough throw for the quarterback. He's not going to be a interception. And I could be wrong, but just watching him, he doesn't look like an interception type of guy. And so when I think about him, like, sorry to cut you off, he's not going to get a lot of picks. His forte isn't throwing a lot of big hits. I think it's just hard to then have people get really excited. And if you're not really watching day in and day out to understand, like, hey, this kid's really, really good, but he's just not making the splash plays. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. And it doesn't surprise me that you say that, right? Because now that I'm reflecting on, like I said, a game of first round grade, but there's no game that sticks out like, oh my God, that was insane, right? Like Trey Sermon had, the game against Donovan. What's the game you guys always harp on when you guys tell me Trey Sermon's so goddamn great?
The last two.
Against against Northwestern.
Northwestern and Clemson.
Yeah, Northwestern, Clemson. Yeah. Everybody talks about Justin Hilliard had like 12 tackles against Clemson, right? Darius Leonard, when he played against Clemson, the team that he tried to walk on with and they'd reject him, he had like 2 blocked field goals and like 3 sacks. Everybody's got those games that stick out in their head. Corum Moore doesn't really have that. And I didn't really think about that until you just said that. But it doesn't surprise me that they would go for someone that fits that, hey, he does his job. He may not have any plus plays, but he's going to neutralize it and do his job, because Greg Newsome is kind of the same way. If you look at Greg Newsome's stats, I think he's only got like 1 interception. Now, granted, one of the big issues with him is he only started 18 games. But, Tommy Togiai, again, we talked about him. He doesn't have those splash sack numbers. If you're just looking at pure box score numbers, you would look at Tommy Togiai and be like, what exactly does he do? But he does what he does really well. Same with kind of like James Hudson. His pro day numbers were absolutely terrible. The offensive tackle from Cincinnati, but he allowed no sacks. He allowed no pressures, right? He did his job. So it doesn't surprise me if they're going towards that, especially considering the last regime. If you talked about Mack Wilson earlier, Wilson was a splash guy. That's a guy who was constantly up in the quarterback's face, constantly moving around the ball, had a bunch of forced fumbles. That guy was a guy. He had a highlight reel. So I could see that. Dorsey
really loved the highlight reel guys.
Yeah.
And I think this is like, again, like and I'm not trying to, diss Koromoa here at all. I think he's great.
No, we want you to be. That's the worst thing in the world, though, is when people come on and they talk about somebody they cover and they give you no cons at all. It's all pros. It's no cons. Everybody's a Hall of Famer. So we want you. That's why we brought you on. We want you to be honest, because now that he's a Cleveland Brown, everybody who didn't even care about him is saying that he's going to be a Hall of Famer, right? So give me the shit, bro. Don't hold back.
Yeah. So look, again, like I think he's good. I think he's played a lot of different roles, right? So Notre Dame's had him cover number 2 guys in kind of that overhang spot. He could play man-to-man. Again, this is college. How that translates to the NFL, you have to be seen. He can play zone coverage. But again, right, like I think about we all love sacks, right? So it's easy to be like, oh, look at this guy always making sacks or making picks or doing whatever, right? Like Asante Samuel, right, senior. He was great at getting the interception. I think Koromoa is a guy where teams going in will be like, hey, we got to watch for, I don't know what he is now, 40-something, but used to say, like, we got to watch 6, right? Because 6 is the guy that he's going to be all over the place making plays, doing his thing, whatever. And while he may not change the flow of a game, he's not going to make too many mistakes, right? So, like, I don't think he's a guy where teams are going to be able to isolate him and take advantage of him and say, like, oh, he's too aggressive or his coverage is lacking. I think I just think he's an all-around good player, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's tough because fans want to get really, really excited, right? I'm a Bears fan. We just drafted Justin Fields. Like, I need him to go throw 50 touchdowns, right?
And he will. I don't see any issue that he will.
But I just think Cormo's a guy where I wouldn't be surprised if you look up and you're like, wow, this guy had a hell of a year. You know what I mean? Like, probably should have won Rookie of the Year if he does it, you know?
Yeah, and then you look at the stat sheet and go, we sure?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know. But I know that's the kind of that. But that is a good football player, right? It's someone that sticks out in your mind. You don't remember him making any mistakes, despite what the stat sheet says. And I think that's a great point. Donovan, did you have anything else you wanted to add, or?
No, I mean, he's an upgrade from, I think, what they have at linebacker.
Everybody?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I still like Sione a lot, kind of because of personal reason. I know him, though. So
you're so biased, dude.
Yeah, I know. So I try not to be, but I'm rooting for him, as I'm going to say, hard. But Mac is obviously, I feel the same that way Nate feels about him. He's a splash, but he can stay healthy for full season and kind of get his group together. That'd be nice to see him with JOK at linebacker is pretty good, and you still have Malcolm. God, I'm drawing a blank right now. I can't.
Brown.
Not Malcolm.
No, that's the running back. Malcolm Smith. My God,
Malcolm Smith.
What is wrong with me? Why did I say Malcolm Brown?
Veteran there. Yeah. I don't know, man. You think?
Yeah, you love Malcolm Smith too. I'm not a big Malcolm Smith.
Well, I mean, for obvious reasons,
But that's not you being biased though. That's me being biased because Malcolm Smith had a very, very solid year.
Yeah,
very solid year.
I mean, he's not.
I just don't like him because he's old.
He is old. Yeah. He's older, but I mean, you guys have a lot of linebackers that are they're too young. That's a young defense, man.
Taki, you are biased when you talk about him, but for reference, he is still very young and he's a very active player. He's almost the exact opposite of JOK, where he's big, and strong, and he will level you out, but he's always in the wrong spot.
He's a little undersized too, height-wise. I mean, he's only 5'11", 6 foot. I mean, he's not tall at all.
Is that really undersized? I mean, if you still weigh 230, 240, I mean, right?
Well, I meant height-wise. Like when he had to cover Travis Kelce, which I know it's Travis Kelce, but I mean, he's giving up. He's giving up. Well, any tight end though, Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah,
I mean, Kyle Rudolph 6'6". Taki covers him.
Yeah, but he's going to be able to guard. Yeah, but
he's always going to have that. That he's not a jumper though. He doesn't have a high vertical and he's short. That's okay. That I see what you're saying. Well, he wasn't good in coverage anyways. Against guys, he could be guarding someone my height. He's just not good in coverage. He's not good. He's not good. He's not good awareness and being. He's not good at understanding where he's supposed to be. That's why I didn't want them to. I thought that was a total reach. Talk about a guy who had no idea what he was. He was just flow into the ball, doing whatever. Reckless, bro.
He's a big hitter, though.
He is a big hitter.
Well, a lot of forced fumbles.
And that's what gets the fans going, right? Is like seeing guys throw these like kill shots on people, but like that's not what the game is.
You don't get that in the NFL anymore, man.
Yeah,
it's a damn shame, bro. You see it in the spring league though.
Forced fumbles.
Yeah,
he had a lot of forced fumbles at BYU.
He did.
He's a playmaker too, but I mean, he can't cover. Yeah, I mean that's why you need somebody like JOK or like I said, Malcolm. Malcolm's pretty good coverage.
So who plays that weak side backer for the Browns right now?
So your three linebackers, and there's not really a penciled in role for either of them because that's why they drafted two, because they're in a state of transition. But you had Malcolm Smith, Jacob Phillips. Jeez, yes, who was a rookie out of LSU last year, third round pick, who was probably the best linebacker, to be honest with you. And then the other player was mostly Taki. Mac Wilson didn't really play a whole lot, but they didn't really. And the Browns don't really play three linebackers.
They need to play Sendejo
they played a lot of nickel defense. A lot of they only played two linebackers, and it wouldn't surprise me if they go with one linebacker moving forward. They're not. They're not a linebacker laden team.
I would have loved to see Jordan Phillips, Mac Wilson, and JOK together at linebacker.
Honestly. And that might be the case because that gives you two pure linebackers, and then the defense, a rover kind of.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I would like that lineup if they can all stay healthy and get it together. I mean, I like Malcolm too, obviously for what he can do with veteran leadership. I mean, I know Josh, your team's pretty young. You can't have all guys like 25.
No. I just you know how it is. It's kind of like it's kind of like.
You gotta have that. He's the most consistent linebacker on the team. I know you said Phillips is the best.
That's true.
But Jacob Phillips is the most talented. I think JOK is better than Phillips too, though. They're just different players.
I think if you're a team that's running a lot of nickel or like sub package, I think almost if you want, right, given the linebackers that you have, if they're actually like solid, you could move Jock to that box safety role. Right? Like he could kind of play that. He doesn't, and so again, you don't have to necessarily lose talent by taking a linebacker off to leave him at linebacker. You can move him to that box safety, keep the linebacker that you want, and still have the same run coverage, pass coverage strength that you would have otherwise. So,
and I think that's what you're going to be looking at. I mean, I don't. This is off the top of my head, but I don't think that there was any game where the Browns started 3 linebackers.
Gotcha. And I don't see too many teams line up and run really power run anymore, right? Like I think as you see more teams start to run the spread, or you think about teams like Arizona and the stuff they're running, and he kind of fits that defense.
Yes,
the defense for that perfectly, right? Like where he could run sideline to sideline with a Kyler Murray or a Lamar Jackson. Not saying he's as fast as those guys, right? But he could provide the pursuit, be a rangy defender, that type of guy, and not hopefully let them kind of get outside of him. And at the same time, he could cover a tight end if needed. I don't know if he could cover, Travis Kelce or anything.
No one can. Donovan was being too harsh.
I said it before. I knew it was Travis Kelce, but
your average tight end in the NFL, he's going to cover that guy. Your number 2 receiver in the NFL for the most part, maybe a slot. He could probably cover that guy well enough to not like embarrass himself. So I think of him just like the Swiss Army knife. I mean, he can do it all. Keatley, do you remember when we were playing the kid Sean Graves?
Oh yeah, he transferred to Akron, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I think of Jock. Or I put it this way: Sean Graves was like a poor man Owusu Koromoa, right? Like that's kind of how I think about it. Like,
because that's kind of a compliment because he was all over the field.
Yeah, Donovan, we had this kid. He was like a corner safety body, but he played linebacker. He would rush from the edge. He would play DB. Like he could kind of do it all, similar to this. Obviously, he played with us at Valpo and then went to
Akron. At Akron. He transferred from Valpo. Yeah. I don't remember what happened there. That might be an off-pod topic. But if I remember right, he was playing, and then for some reason someone got pissy, and he didn't play as much anymore. And he was like, "No, I'm going back home. I'm going to Akron," because he went to school with Lovelace.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and he got pissy because he didn't get no playing time, or they took away his playing time, and they transferred to Akron, where he actually played.
Yeah, he played
because he was a good athlete. He was very, like you said, he had pretty good size. Was long. We're playing division. At the time, it was 1AA. I think now it's FCS.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's FCS, but he was, with a very good size, 6 foot, 210 maybe. So
yeah. So I think of him that way. Like again, I can't tell you anything he's great at, but I really can't tell you anything he's bad at, other than maybe taking on offensive linemen. I mean,
which he's not gonna have to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's a great run out. I love the Sean Graves comparison. Whenever you want to come with an old school Valpo comparison, I don't care if no listener you know what? 4 of our Valpo friends will listen to this and be like, "God damn, that's a good one."
Yeah. Old Sean Graves. Hope he's doing well.
Dude, Donovan went to Mercer.
Oh, really?
I did, yeah. FCS
yes,
school.
Mercer. Yeah. So did we play Mercer? I know we played Marist.
Yeah.
Mercer,
we were there.
Mercer we didn't have a football team back until 2014. So no, you didn't play. There's no way.
I must be. I think I've said that like 4 times because I keep confusing with Marist. So
Marist.
Yeah, Mercer didn't. We only had a football team for like 7, 8 years. Well, it was like the 1918 team. Doesn't count.
The way I was with Valpo was at a type, bro. Fuzzy Thurston.
Yeah, Fuzzy Thurston.
That was the only jersey, Donovan, in our weight room. That was the only jersey that was hanging up. Was Fuzzy Thurston's.
Fuzzy Thurston.
Really?
Yeah, hold on. Let me see. When
you guys were like basketball? I mean, I always Valpo 13 seed, man. Like that was like
the basketball school.
Oh yeah.
We don't need to keep hearing it from you, Donovan. We know. We went to the high school. We went to the college parties where the chicks went straight to the 7-foot guys. Okay. I lived it. I don't need you to be telling me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I do.
Don't bring up old memories, Donovan. But
I thought I was repping Valpo, talking about the basketball team and like
Fuzzy Thurston. Fuzzy Thurston's career ended in the NFL in 1967, and that is our only retired jersey at the university. I think the only guy to go to the NFL from our university.
Really?
No, that's actually not true. So, because Donovan and I actually were talking about this. We did a show a couple weeks ago where we drafted the all-time Cleveland Browns team.
Oh yeah.
And back in like 19 butt fuck. Some dude transferred. He played at Valpo for like 3 years and then went to war. Yeah, and then he went. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was a lineman. He went to war, and when he came back, he's like, I'm gonna go to Notre Dame. Yeah. And then he got drafted to the Browns, and he ended up being like a 9-time Pro Bowler. Back before the NFL was the NFL. And I was like, dude, no way. I didn't know that. I remember that. I said on the show, I thought Fuzzy Thurston was the only one.
His bio says Notre Dame. It doesn't even say like.
Yeah, you got to search.
Yeah,
what a bastard. Yeah. Because Donovan and I, we were like, we had to try to figure out because it just when you Google like, oh hey, what's this guy play? A lot of times when you go back to old football, it'll just say OL or DL. Well, I was like, nah, Donovan, we got to take this. If you're going to bring it up, I don't want you just Wikipedia. We got to figure it out, bro. So we did. We were like reading newspaper articles and like I'm watching old grainy YouTube videos and trying to figure out exactly where they played on the line. It was a pretty good experience. We saw some pretty dark stuff. One of the guys I saw, like after he retired, he couldn't handle it and he murdered his wife and children. Like it was like, oh, that guy's in the Hall of Fame. That's dark.
That's because you picked all these
all
these old players. I picked a bunch of younger guys that people.
He did. Donovan won the contest too because all these millennials voted. But so let's talk about the future of Notre Dame. Now that we got a Notre Dame expert on the show, who is the stud? Who do you think would be a good fit for the Cleveland Browns in next year's draft from this Notre Dame Fighting Irish team?
Also, Nate, I have a question for you as well. Later, you can answer Josh's first. That's more but after I have a question for you about Notre Dame currently as well. So
okay. Hopefully it's not about the attractiveness of the women on campus because I'm staying away from those questions.
No, I've been to South Bend before.
Okay. For those that don't know, but pre-show, Nate got if you want to get on his Twitter page, he got a little bit of hot water for. Apparently,
a couple of comments I made about the looks of the ladies of South Bend, which were not well received. So I'm staying away from that for now, and probably the foreseeable future.
Just go to Chicago if you want.
I can. It'd probably be good, Josh, if you just tell me what do you think the Browns need, and I could probably tell you a guy from Notre Dame that might fit that.
Well, I don't know. It's next year, so let's say I don't. Is there anybody on the defensive line that you can? Who do you envision? So when I watch Ohio State, the guy that pops off the page, I'm like, God damn, someone's going to get Garrett Wilson, and Garrett Wilson's going to be an All-Pro player. I don't care if you need a receiver or not. Garrett Wilson's the dude. Who's the dude at Notre Dame that you're like, God damn, that guy's a first rounder waiting to happen? You got no one off the top of your head?
I think the best player on their team's a sophomore, though. He's not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Kyle Hamilton. Hamilton's probably the guy at safety, but he's not. He's not going to be ready. So I'm trying to look and see like who's actually a senior this year.
Hamilton's a good one though. Where do you see him getting drafted at?
I think he's first round talent. I think Kyle Hamilton could go at the end of this year. I think he's a first round talent. I really like this kid Braden Lindsey, but he just.
Yeah, I like Braden.
He hasn't done much. I mean, he's a senior this year. I'm trying to pull up his stats. Like, he got hurt last year. And it was one of those things, too, where it was a hamstring injury. So I'm like, oh, yeah, once you tweak the hamstring, right, like, you're probably out for the year. But, I mean, he's a burner. He's done a lot. I mean, before he got hurt when he was an underclassman, he was running reverses. He was running kickoff, punt return. But last year he had 7 catches for 63 yards and a touchdown. The year before that, he had 250 yards and a touchdown. But he's kind of just like he's this all-purpose guy. I like him. I'm looking through who I love is this kid Isaiah Foskey, who's a defensive end who I don't think Notre Dame is using appropriately right now. And he is a guy that could just get to the NFL and wreak absolute havoc. Like this kid, I think had like his first scholarship offer when he was like 14 from like Lane Kiffin. Like, he was just a monster. And so I'll put Foskey out there. I'll put Kyle Hamilton out there, Braden Lindsey.
Well, let's explore this Foskey guy a little bit more. Well, how do you think that Notre Dame is using him improperly? That's a good I'm unfamiliar with his game.
Yeah, so I'll send you some stuff afterwards. He's just an athlete, man. I think he was running there, and there's a play in the Clemson game where Travis Etienne went out on this wheel route, and this kid's a defensive end. So what's his size? Like,
Donovan, do you know this guy? Because you're like I said, you do.
I've heard. Yeah, I know him. I don't know his exactly what height.
Let's say he's like 250. Like, let's just say he's roughly 250. They have him at 6'4", 233 as a recruit, but no, Notre Dame website has him at 6'4", 257. So
Damn.
6'4", 260, and he was step for step with ETN on a wheel route from the defensive end position. And so I'm just like, he's a freak athlete. Look, I think Notre Dame just needs to turn him loose and let him just wreak havoc on the quarterback. And I don't even care if it's just like you have no responsibility other than rushing the passer. I think he'd end up with 12, 13 sacks easy. Like, it just –
the Notre Dame has had a really weird run of highly recruited defensive ends that didn't really do much. Dalen Hayes, Donovan, wasn't it Dalen Hayes we're talking
Dalen
about?
Hayes.
Which one was it? Because they had two defensive ends that were draft eligible this year. One was like an all-star.
Dalen Hayes was a high recruit, yeah.
Yeah, he was right up there with Joshua Kingdoe and Jacob Phillips and Chase Young, and he just didn't really kind of bounce around, had injuries, and didn't really do much. And there was a guy before that, too, that we talked about last year. Oh, God, I can't – it's so bad how your brain moves on from one draft class so fast. But then, of course, you remember guys like, Spurgeon Wynn. How could I forget Spurgeon Wynn?
You talk about him all the time, dude. Why?
He's the best Browns player on this podcast that we've. He'll go to Browns Wire podcast Hall of Fame.
Has he been on before?
No, I wish, dude.
Oh, I thought he
doesn't. I don't think you think he's off of social media, probably because there's just people bother him constantly because he's such a celebrity. But that's interesting, But that's the kind of play. That's the kind of player where if you're strive for with ETN, that's the kind of shit that's going to get that guy momentum. Towards draft season. So I like that. That's a good one.
It's just
not a name I'm familiar with.
It's a defensive system in Notre Dame, right? Like they don't, and maybe it changes with Marcus Freeman, who I think everybody's really excited about. But
love Marcus Freeman, former Buckeye.
Yeah, former Buckeye.
And
a
Chicago
lot of people
Bear.
are already tossing his name in the ring for like next head coach at ND. We'll see. He's really ramped up the recruiting efforts.
He's amazing.
So a lot of people love him right now. The Clark Lee defense, Clark just left for the head coaching job at Vanderbilt. It's just a defense built for the linebackers to make plays, right? So, again, as we talked about Koromoa, right, the defensive ends aren't really there to get a bunch of sacks, do a bunch of that. So we'll see if Freeman kind of brings in some of those more like 4-3, 4-2-5 principles and lets guys get after the quarterback. So.
Yeah, he had the thing that really stood out with Marcus Freeman's defense at Cincinnati was that he got those defensive backs playing tight. I'm talking, those defensive backs were good. They were playing hard. They were physical. He was only there for a couple of years under Fickle, but I think he's great. I think he's really intelligent. I'm being biased because he went to Ohio State, but he was a very intelligent player when he was at Ohio State too, because that's not a guy that checked a lot of boxes physically, as I'm sure you've already seen. You could tell when a guy has. When you look at Mike Vrabel, you're like, oh, that there's a reason that guy was a good football player. When you look at Marcus Freeman, you're like, oh, he was in the NFL for a bit. Why?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
no, I know what you mean.
Very intelligent player.
So it'll be curious to see because, look, I think Foskey, again, he's a junior now. If he has 2 sacks in his career – sorry, that's my dog. Give me 1 second. He's got 2 sacks in his career. I don't think he's going to have more than that.
You're talking a Jason Owe situation, bro. I can see Donovan getting triggered, dude.
Yeah, getting upset.
He didn't like that.
and look, I think Owe again, same thing, right? So look, I'll say this about Foskey. It wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't get a bunch of sacks this year and ends his career with under 10 sacks at Notre Dame, and then goes to the combine and freaking tests out of the gym. And some football team is like, okay, let's bring this guy in, and he has like a 10-sack rookie year. It just wouldn't surprise me if that ends up being the case because, like I said, he's a monster already. Run strive for with ETN.
Who's a first-round running back?
Yeah, first-round pick running back. So I'm like, it would not surprise me to see him kind of like Claypool, right? I thought Claypool was okay at Notre Dame. He had a decent year. Then he goes to the combine, tests out of the gym. Everyone's thinking, oh, this guy's a tight end. He's whatever. Proves, right? I don't know if he's a number 1 wide receiver yet, but he's a starting NFL wide receiver. And so I think Foskey the same way. Right coach, right system in the NFL. They're going to turn that kid into a monster.
Chase Claypool's a good example too, because that was not a guy when you looked at, when you go to play Notre Dame, you weren't like, oh my God, that guy's going to destroy us. Michael Thomas was kind of the same way at Ohio State, where it was like, he was kind of an afterthought. Very good, very quality player, but Curtis Samuel was the guy, right? Paris Campbell was the guy that you looked at. So I think the Chase Claypool example is a very good example. Donovan, you said you had a couple questions.
Yeah. That was one of my questions. Like, who not maybe would be a good Browns player, but NFL. Obviously, Kyle Hamilton. I've seen all the mock drafts. I've seen Kyle Hamilton everywhere. But my question is on the offensive side. What do you think about the quarterback situation? I really obviously Jack coming in from Wisconsin. Is going to give but I really like Drew Pine. I got a chance to interview Drew Pine as junior year. I really like that kid a lot. I think he's a hard worker. I think he's a stud for that program, but he might have to wait another year, possibly with Jack coming in. But what do you think about him or that quarterback situation there? There's some other quarterbacks in the room. Tyler Buckner. Yeah. I like him too. So what do you think about the quarterback situation there?
Yeah.
So far.
that's a $1 million question. I'll tell you this, though, and not to kind of get off topic, but something people aren't talking a lot about for Notre Dame this year is that there might be 2 freshmen starting on the offensive line between Rocco Spindler and I'm blanking on the other kid right now, Blake Fisher, the 5-star. Yeah. But at the quarterback shakeout, I look at it like this. Jack Cohn came in from Wisconsin. I think people are saying it's his job to lose. He's got the most experience, etc. Drew Pine, good, very good player. A student of the game, very hard worker from everything I've heard, right? He's really put the time in. And then you've got Buckner, right? The 5-star that got downgraded and people love him. People love Buckner and think he's got a lot of potential. I don't know him. I haven't talked to him much. I haven't watched a lot about him. The only couple things I'll say, and this is kind of biased, is I think he throws an ugly football first. Buckner. This is Buckner. I think he throws an ugly football from what I've seen. And then just through some sources, I was talking to some people, and he had an opportunity to go to St. John Bosco out in California because one of the knocks on him was that he played in a very non-competitive conference in California and ran up a lot of stats. And then that's why he transferred, but then with COVID, he ended up not playing and just was early enrollee. Anyways, he had a chance to go to St. John Bosco after DJ Ugalele left. And those coaches told him, hey, it's not a guaranteed job. You'd be in a quarterback competition, and he passed. So that to me just kind of gives me weird vibes for like a kid who's supposed to be a 5-star that doesn't think that he could beat out the 2 kids that are there now.
That are not 5-stars.
That are not 5-stars. But there's a lot of hype around him. A lot of people like him. I'm sure he'll probably develop into something great. Drew Pine, I think you're right. I think Drew waits another year behind Cohn, who's going to probably just keep it between the lines this year. I don't know. I like him. I think he's comfortable. I'm not sure. But it's going to be hard to replace Ian Book, I think, as much as – and I was not a fan of Ian Book. I think it's going to be hard to replace Ian Book. He was scrappy. He won a lot of games. I think people like me are going to realize how much we miss him this year with a player like Jack Cohn, who to me is much more of your typical stay in the pocket. He's not going to make any scramble type of deals. So we'll see.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Jack is definitely going to give you the best option not to lose a game. But, I mean, I would definitely want to – he could get hurt like he did at Wisconsin. I don't want him to get hurt.
Yeah.
And see Drew Pine come in. I think he's definitely a lot better down the field too. So, and
he's got a great arm.
I agree with you on Tyler Buckner too, actually. So I'm
really
in the recruiting communities and I'm from California too, and I just wasn't I like him. He has a lot of potential, but he's just really raw right now. I never bought the 5-star hype with Buckner. And actually I heard the same things as you about the Bosco situation. That's funny. I didn't know a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I know. That's why I didn't want to give out names. But he passed on Bosco, and then when he showed up to the one Elite 11 camp and was just like, his form was terrible or whatever. I don't know if it was Elite 11, but wherever he was at, right, and his form was bad, and then they kind of dropped him down. Look, I think he's a good athlete. As far as his fundamentals and all those things, shaky. And again, the fact that he didn't think he could beat those kids out at Bosco and just win the job outright, I don't know if I want a quarterback that doesn't have that kind of confidence in himself. So
yeah, exactly. Well, it'll be tough to replace Ian, man. He put a thorn in SC's side for 3 years, and that's honestly one of the toughest quarterbacks we played against in the past 10 years, dude. I've heard the USC players say that before. He's so hard. I didn't. realize how good Ian Book was to like interview players, and they're like, dude, I don't like playing that guy. He's like,
yeah. I'd agree with that. And like, look, I mean,
it's a weird from the media side because like everyone like media, I think it's like, oh, he's like above average, like
he sucks.
Scrappy.
Really. I think a lot of people thought he sucked.
I'm literally saying that in my head right now. Like, Ian Book is so average. Why are we talking?
Players are dude. They just it's tough.
But
dude.
Doesn't he feel like the kind of quarterback that you see all the time? That like Daryl Clark at Penn State was kind of like that. Where it's like, God damn, that guy gets every 3rd and 1. But then when he leaves, they just kind of get. He's just average enough to where if you have a shitty quarterback, you notice. But if you can find a quarterback who does the job just as well, but maybe not with the same kind of plays, right? Like Trace McSorley is another good example. I keep using Big Ten examples.
That's a good one. Trace is a good one.
Yeah, but it's like he was an okay quarterback. If it was 3rd and 1, he would get it for you 75% of the time.
Yeah.
But that 75% of the time, he would break 7 tackles. He would scramble around for 30 yards. He would fumble it, pick up his own fumble, throw it to himself. Yeah. It was every play was just exciting. But Jack Cohn, he may just quarterback sneak and get the 3rd and 1. He may his percentage might be just as high of being successful in that play, but it's just not as sexy. It doesn't stick out in your mind. Daryl Clark was kind of like that. Trace McSorley was kind of like that. JT Barrett was like that at Ohio State, where it was like everybody talks about JT Barrett like he was goddamn Terrell Pryor. And it's like, no, man. Terrell Pryor was a god. You just think that JT Barrett was that great because he got every 4th and 1, and he was very good at handing off to Zeke. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I think it's kind of like that. But, you are closer with the program, so.
I see that a little bit.
I don't want to bash Ian, right? So I will say this. There are a lot of quarterbacks probably out there better than Ian Book. But when you turn on that tape and you watch some of those games and you see him scramble and, to your point, like McSorley, do some really dumb shit one play and then the next play do something amazing and it ends up winning the game, it's just kind of hard to be like, to Donovan's point, like, he's a tough guy. I'm sure the players, a lot of them are just like, look, I looked at him too. I didn't think he was as quick as he was. I didn't think he was as shifty as he was. I didn't think he could do a lot of the things he was doing. And I think there's a reason why he got drafted where he got drafted, because I think someone like Sean Payton probably sees a lot of potential in him. But yeah, I mean, if we're just talking pure talent, would I put Ian Book in the realm of like a Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trevor? No. But I think he's a winner, and I think he's good. And it hurts me to say that because, look, I really didn't like the kid for a while. Not like I don't like him personally, but just like as a player, I wanted somebody else to start. But it's kind of hard to say anything bad about him at this point. You know what I mean?
It's funny. Dolly, you talked about that.
No, I was going to say that's funny, too, because I follow Notre Dame very, very closely just because, as an SC fan, like, if you don't follow and respect Notre Dame, like, you're not a real SC fan to me. Like, I know we, like, have a rivalry, but it's like, you have to follow that team. I'm sure Josh follows Michigan, like, recruits and their transfers too. Like, you have to follow. You have to. Like, so when Ian Book came in, Ian Book's from California. Like, we didn't recruit him. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like no one wanted him out in California. Like,
he had no real offers. Yeah.
He just ended up at Notre Dame. But I really respect that kid. When he came in, I was like, man, I like Phil Jurkovic a lot.
I love Jurkovic.
Yeah. Because that was the guy to me. Like, I still think he's like a better pro prospect than Ian Book. But like at the end of the day, like he is. But like,
I agree with that too.
Brian Kelly's not trying to. Brian Kelly's just trying to win football games at South Bend, and Ian Book gave him that best chance every week, really. I don't think there's many quarterbacks that could do what Ian Book did at Notre Dame, honestly. Like, and that's just saying, like, from a college football standpoint. So I respect that kid a lot, even if he never throws a pass in the NFL. Like JT Barrett, though, like you said, or Trace McSorley, like those guys are kind of comp to him a little bit as well. But I think does he have the most wins in Notre Dame?
Yeah, all time. Most wins all time. Yeah,
really.
That's if you had told me that about him.
Jesus Christ! In a school with Joe Theismann and Joe Montana and Eric Meyer and Jimmy Clausen.
And to Donovan's point, I think he's like a 2 or 3 star kid.
Damn,
it's crazy, man.
His biggest offer might have been like Washington State or something.
Yeah. Bill always talks about. We have a guy, Bill Carroll, always wishes Ian Book went to Wazoo instead because he would have put up.
Oh my God, he would have been insane there.
Yeah,
he would have been insane.
He would have been crazy there.
So,
I'm glad he went to Notre. Well, kind of, because he beat us.
I love Dracovic. I love Dracovic. Again, I don't really love him. I don't know him, but as a player, I love the way he plays. Mm-hmm. But I think even watching him at Boston College when Notre Dame played them, talent aside, he'll lose you some games. I mean, he loves his arm, which he absolutely should. It's a great arm, but like he'll lose you some games. He'll make some throws he shouldn't. He might hold on to it a little too long and fumble it. But yeah, I mean, he's probably the better pro prospect. I think he might even have a better pro career. But sad to see him go to BC, but wishing that he kills it out there. But yeah, I mean, Ian Book. What can you say? I mean, it's just one of those, the cliche, like, prove him wrong. Like, Ian Book is the prove him wrong poster child, right? You know what I mean? Like, whether it's the stars from the recruits, whether it's what the fans thought, whether it's what people like me wrote about him, like, he's just been proving us all wrong again and again and again. So it's like at a certain point, you just got to stop hating on the kid. You know what I mean?
What a wonderful life lesson. Just keep on fighting. Just prove us wrong. Donovan, did you have any other questions?
No, that's it, man. I'm glad I got to talk a little Notre Dame quarterback room, and I'm really excited for Avery Davis, man, this year too.
Yeah. This might be his year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be his year. I'm really excited for him too, because that's a former quarterback as well. I watched a lot of high school, so I knew he was fun quarterback to watch. I'm glad he switched positions though.
Yeah, sure. Donovan loves watching high school. He loves not just high school football either. He just loves hanging out at the high school.
No, that's weird, bro. Weird.
He keep getting older and they stay the same age.
Oh God, my girlfriend's 25, by the way. So I want people to know that she listens to this podcast a lot. So
Does she? She actually listens to it?
Not.
Oh my God!
Not deep. Not. She won't be listening to this deep into the podcast, but just her parents listen to it too. So I got to stop cursing it so much.
Very supportive.
That's so funny because I always make fun of Donovan because he's so nice to his girlfriend. Like he's always talking about how great she is, and I'm like, okay. I can admit my girlfriend has issues, bro. but my girlfriend don't listen to the podcast, so maybe good for you. You should marry her, dude.
Yeah,
that's a supportive woman.
We'll see how Vegas goes first.
Yeah. Well, this was the Browns Wire podcast. Nate, where can they follow you on Twitter? What you got going on? Tell the people about yourself, bro.
Yeah, so you guys can find me on Twitter at Nate Atkins 0, which is my handle here. Do a little bit of stuff for Irish Breakdown. More during the season, I'll do game previews, things like that. I'm trying to do some recruiting stuff right now. Occasionally, you can find me on ESPN Radio out in Louisville. I do a couple hits there. Yeah, I do a couple hits with the Coach Valvano, and so I'm just trying not to bash Ian Book anymore or the women of South Bend. I've learned my lessons, so you can find me there.
That's awesome. Yeah, and again, if you're not watching the live stream, which I know that most of the listeners don't, they listen to us on Stitcher and Apple, which is great too. Nate is a great athlete. You can see just by looking up. Google him. He's a great. It helps with we have so many people on the show who have never taken a snap or they look like me with multiple chins. But it helps to be able to have someone on the show who was there and you played defense. You were there and you're writing now. It's just it helps. It gives you some extra pizzazz to your work. So everybody go out and give him a follow. Check out his work. We'll be sure to spread the word. Donovan, what do you got going on, dude? Because I know the last time we talked, you said you're working on your 2022 mock draft.
I'm actually working on the 2022 big board, not mock. I don't want to.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, just a big board. Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. I'm doing a top 100. Just right now, and
what number you at?
I'm done. I just got to write some previews about the players, some player prospect profiles and stuff, and then
who's number one on the big board?
Kayvon Thibodeau.
You're just gonna give it out like that? You're not gonna make him work for it? You're not gonna make him click on it?
I'll give him number one. There's 99 others we got. But
what was that game where Oregon played for COVID, and there was like. And he just destroyed.
It was the Pac-12 championship versus SC. That was
he destroyed SC. Good grief.
He destroyed. What's his name? What's the lineman that just got drafted? Really, Elijah Vera Tucker, dude.
Yeah.
He demolished the kid from Cal too.
Yeah,
Cal kid didn't get drafted,
and the kid from UCLA that's supposed to be a top pick. I mean, Thibodeau's serious, man. He's just got to. put on weight, and he's a smaller guy. I mean, he's still only 20. He's young. He just turned 20. He's pretty light right now. He's a pure pass rusher, though. Like, he really just tries to rush the passer. He's got to get a little bit better all around, but right now I think he'll get it this year with the Oregon defense. But yeah, that's my number one player. So I'm doing that on City Union Sports. Check that out. And then just follow me on Twitter at Dom James Sports. The name remains the same. I'm going to Vegas on Sunday and then California next week. So
we're not going to have a show next week? Did you tell me now on the show?
Yeah,
we're not going to have a show next week?
I was going to tell you, like,
dude.
Before, but we might be able to sneak a show in this week so we can record it and have it before.
Cool. That's not a bad idea.
Because me, I'm all about trying to record new shit. But yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna be in a hot air balloon at a winery on.
Oh my goodness!
So I'm not gonna record with you, dude. I'm just letting you know right now.
You see what he does for his woman? See, I would never do that, dude. I'm not going up in there. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm from Temecula, California. I don't know if you probably don't know what it is, but it's known for it's literally known for hot air balloons and wine.
That's what. Are you being serious?
And Ricky,
Google that city. That's gonna pop up.
And Ricky Fowler, yeah, he's from there too. But yeah,
he does seem like a hot air balloon wine kind of guy. So
Ricky,
don't you love that, Josh? Like, we're from the Midwest. It's like, yeah, we're known for like sausage and cheese and shit.
You guys have
Geta. Cincinnati's known for Geta, dude, which is just like gross gravy.
No, you guys got all types of stuff in Ohio.
And Donovan's like, yeah, I'm from wine and hot air balloon country. It's like, oh wow, must be nice.
You guys
he always like, I love you, Donovan, but sometimes he does do passive aggressive stuff too. We'll be like, you probably don't know about it, Josh, but it's wine country. Like,
I don't know if you yokels in the Midwest have ever heard of wine, but
you know what a hot air balloon is?
No, man. I'm just saying Temecula's a small city. A lot of people don't know about it. So if I had said San Diego, where I was actually born, you would have known, but not Temecula. That's a small. Like, I was, I'm just a military kid, dude. Born in San Diego. Nothing special, dude.
No, it's all good. I like to joke about people from Pennsylvania when they're like, have you had Wawa? Have you had Sheetz? And then, like, gas station food? Like,
Wawa's good, dude.
Dude, the Sheetz in Columbus.
Wait, you guys have the chili, though, like the Cincinnati chili. That stuff's good.
Skyline chili,
yeah. Dude. It's terrible, bro.
I like that. I've had
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Really? You guys like that?
Yeah, I
mean, I wouldn't I'm not going to, go out of my way to get it, but it's
Schroll and Bill made me drive. They visited me when I first transferred to Ohio State, and there's no chili place on Ohio State's campus. So they came down. They're like, "Can we get some chili?" And I'm like, "Dude, it's like 30 minutes away." And they're like, "Yeah, but can we? That's like what you're known for. Can you take us so we can get chili?" It's like, "All right, guys. All right. I haven't seen you in 4 years, but let's go get some goddamn chili."
You see this, Donovan? Known for chili, man. Chili's everywhere.
Chili's Philly, man. You ain't gonna get filled up on freaking hummus and wine.
One of these days, Donovan's gonna come up and hang out with me. He's gonna come up to a game, Ohio State game or something, and I'm gonna show him where I live, dude. He's gonna be like, "Dude, you weren't lying. I'm literally cows, dude. Cows right there, and literally, there's ambulances that go by for meth overdoses constantly, like 100 yards away, dude." It's great, dude. You're gonna be like, "Whoa!"
I'm staying at Mac's house.
No, you're not. Oh yeah. It's because Matt lives over.
He lives 15 minutes from downtown.
Yeah, but he lives with his parents. Okay, his house is Snowford.
Okay,
that's right. Yeah, see, there you go. But this was the Browns Wire podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at JoshKeaton16. I'm going to try to pump out these MP3s faster. We've been very consistent releasing them on Wednesday. I'm going to start editing them out, getting them out there on Monday so you guys can listen. We're very consistent with this. We're sorry the YouTube channel's not super consistent. Our Facebook Lives are not super consistent, but we appreciate everybody who watches. Give us a like, listen, review, all that good stuff. And we are out. All right.